I'm furious at the comments made by some people who claim that the combat prowess of the Polish military ended with the Hussars. These people create a false image that our modern soldiers are a bunch of cowards and incompetents, which is deeply offensive to the brave patriots serving in our armed forces. That's why today I'll show you how fierce a modern Polish soldier truly is. You'll learn the details of a battle that took place just a few years ago, a heroic defense in which Polish soldiers not only impressed the local population, but also gained the admiration of Americans. The defense of Karbala City Hall. How the Poles showed what fighting to the end means. It's the year 2004. Over a year has passed since the fall of Saddam Hussein, but Iraq still resembles a powder keg more than a normal state. The Americans and their allies, including Poland, are trying to restore order, but it's not a simple stabilization mission. It's a guerrilla war. The enemy has no uniforms, doesn't fight openly, and attacks from ambushes. One of the most critical points on the map of Iraq is Karbala, a holy city for Shia Muslims, a place of worship, but also a land full of tension and political rivalry. It's here that Muqtada Assad, the leader of the Mahdi Army, an extremist Shia militia, wants to assert his influence, aiming to drive out all occupiers and seize control of the region. When the second Shia uprising breaks out in the spring of 2004, Karbala becomes a focal point of the fighting. Saddam's forces begin attacking the coalition troops, including Americans, Bulgarians, and Poles. Their objective is to capture the city hall, a symbol of power and a key strategic point. The Polish troops, who were supposed to maintain order, suddenly find themselves drawn into a full-scale battle. Poles in the fire. How did they end up in the middle of this storm? In Karbala City Hall, there were several dozen soldiers, mainly Poles and Bulgarians. In theory, their mission was to support the country's reconstruction and ensure stability, but reality quickly revised those assumptions. The Mahdi Army launches its attack, hundreds of fighters, RPGs, mortars, machine guns, all aimed at a handful of soldiers trapped in the city hall. They have no support. They are outnumbered, they are surrounded, and yet they decide to fight and not give up the building. What did the defense look like? The attacks came quickly and brutally. First a barrage, mortars, grenades, machine guns. The building trembled from explosions, windows shattered, and the soldiers had to hold their positions. It quickly became clear that this wouldn't be a few hours of skirmishes, it was a siege. The Shia militia tried different tactics, direct assaults. Mahdi Army units advanced on the walls and tried to force their way inside. Sniper attacks. Marksmen hid on rooftops, hunting for soldiers who dared peek through windows. Ambushes on reinforcements. Any attempt to deliver ammunition and support was at risk of an ambush in Karbala's streets. The Poles, however, stuck to the plan, dividing forces wisely, securing key points of the building and responding with precise fire. They didn't let the enemy get too close. We were there, and no one helped us. The siege begins. Captain Grzegorz Kalisiak, the commander of the Polish contingent in the city hall, recalled later, "We knew we were surrounded. The position was difficult, but withdrawal was out of the question. The city hall was a symbol of power in Karbala, and we were there to defend it." The first days of the siege were filled with intense attacks. Mahdi Army fighters came closer and closer, trying to break down doors, destroy entrances with grenades and mortars. The Poles defended themselves with every available weapon. The building had no luxuries, limited ammunition, no way to resupply, and extreme exhaustion. One soldier recalled the moment a wave of enemies stormed the city hall. Grenades started flying through the windows, explosions and screams filled the air. There was no time for fear, only a quick reaction could save us. Snipers and RPGs, how did the battles play out? We couldn't lift our heads because snipers were everywhere. The biggest threat was the snipers hiding on rooftops. Whenever a soldier tried to look out a window, he risked instant death. But the Poles found a way. They used old mirrors to observe their surroundings without exposing themselves to fire. This allowed them to respond effectively, minimizing casualties. RPG attacks. You could feel the walls tremble. Another danger came from RPG-7 anti-tank rockets, which the fighters used to try to breach the city hall's walls. Every explosion filled the corridors with dust and rubble. After one RPG hit, the door was blown off its hinges. We thought they'd be inside any second, but we returned fire and managed to stop them. Grenades on the roof! Heroic moments. In a critical moment, a Polish soldier spotted fighters climbing onto the roof. If they managed to get up there, they could drop grenades directly onto the defenders. There was no time to hesitate.
Corporal Michał, surname withheld, didn't back down. Instead, he charged up the stairs.
Before the attackers could prepare their grenades, Michał opened fire with his AK-47, eliminating them. His swift reaction saved the City Hall from capture. After the fight, he simply said, "I didn't think about anything. I saw them and knew I had to act." Out of ammo, but not out of will to fight. As the siege dragged on, the situation became desperate. Ammunition ran low and the number of attackers kept growing. The Poles had to fire accurately and sparingly. One soldier recalled, "I had just a few bullets left in my magazine, and I remember every shot had to count. This wasn't a video game. A mistake meant death." Despite these challenges, the Poles and Bulgarians did not give up the City Hall. They held their position until the Mahdi Army fighters began to retreat. It was true military mastery. They showed that even in the most extreme conditions, they could fight effectively. US Army generals acknowledged that the defense of the town hall was one of the best conducted defensive operations in Iraq. The Poles proved that the spirit of the winged Hussars is still alive within the ranks of the Polish armed forces. That's all for today. If you have thoughts on this topic, leave a comment or a like below. Your opinions are a real intellectual treat for me. And if you don't want to miss future materials, subscribe to my channel to receive notifications about new videos. If you'd like to support me in creating more episodes about the Polish fighting spirit, consider supporting me on YouTube or Patronite. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the next videos.